Inside your body right now, there is a built-in defense system working quietly in the background, scanning for damage, breaking down what no longer serves you, and helping protect you from disease before it takes hold. It is happening at the cellular level. And when this process is working well, it can help your body remove worn-out proteins, damaged cell parts, and even cells that have started behaving in dangerous ways, almost like an internal cleanup crew. Or, more accurately, a biological recycling system so intelligent that it can tear apart damaged material, reuse the best pieces, and support the creation of healthier cellular structures in its place. This process is one of the most important self-protective mechanisms in human biology. It is called autophagy. And if you have never heard of it before, or if you have heard the word but assumed it only matters during long fasts or extreme dieting, what you are about to learn may completely change the way you think about health, aging, and disease prevention. Autophagy comes from Greek roots that literally mean self-eating. That sounds harsh, but what it really describes is your body's ability to identify old, dysfunctional, or potentially harmful cellular material and break it down before that damage spreads. Think about what that means. Your cells are not just passive structures waiting to wear out. They are active, dynamic, and constantly making decisions. They assess what is still useful. They identify what is broken. And when autophagy is switched on, they clean house. Inside each cell are systems designed for quality control. These systems can detect misfolded proteins, weakened mitochondria, and components that are no longer functioning properly. When autophagy is activated, the cell surrounds this damaged material with a membrane, transports it to a compartment where it can be broken down, and then recycles those raw materials into fresh building blocks. That matters for energy. It matters for inflammation. It matters for metabolic health. And it matters for long-term protection against disease, because many illnesses do not begin all at once. They develop slowly. A little damage here. A little dysfunction there. A few cellular mistakes that go uncorrected. Over time, that burden accumulates, and once the body loses its ability to manage that damage efficiently, disease has a much easier time gaining ground. This is why autophagy is so important. It is not just about cellular cleanup. It is about resilience. It is about your body's ability to maintain order in a system constantly exposed to stress, toxins, poor sleep, excess calories, and modern habits that confuse ancient biology. According to Dr. Marie Clark, one of the biggest misunderstandings is that people think autophagy is either on or off in some dramatic way, and that the only way to access it is through something extreme. But biology rarely works like that. Your body responds to patterns, signals, rhythms, repeated daily inputs. And in many cases, the most powerful changes do not come from one heroic intervention. They come from what you do consistently. That is the real message here. Autophagy is influenced by everyday behaviors. And when you understand what activates it and what suppresses it, you begin to see that disease prevention is not only about avoiding obvious harm. It is also about restoring the biological signals your body has been designed to respond to for thousands of years. So what can you do every day to support this process naturally? The first habit is one of the most overlooked. Create longer stretches each day when your body is not digesting food. Most people assume autophagy only begins after several days without eating. That is not true. Yes, prolonged fasting can increase autophagy significantly, but that does not mean shorter daily periods are meaningless. Every time you stop grazing, stop snacking, and allow insulin levels to come down for several hours, you begin shifting your body away from constant storage mode and toward repair mode. One of the reasons this matters is because your cells monitor nutrient abundance. When food is constantly arriving, especially refined carbohydrates and frequent snacks, the body gets the message that resources are plentiful and growth should remain prioritized. But when there are pauses in intake, different pathways begin to activate. One of those pathways involves AMPK, an important cellular energy sensor. Another involves reduced activity in mTOR, a pathway strongly associated with growth and nutrient availability. In simple terms, when the body senses that energy is not constantly pouring in, it becomes more willing to repair, recycle, and conserve. That is where autophagy begins to rise. This does not require starvation. It requires spacing. For many people, one of the easiest ways to do this is to stop eating late at night and allow a 12-hour overnight break before breakfast the next morning. That could mean finishing dinner at 7 and eating breakfast at 7. For others, a slightly longer overnight fasting window may feel natural. The point is not to force something extreme. The point is to stop interrupting your body's repair systems with constant digestion. The second habit is to avoid overeating protein all day, every day. Protein is essential. You need it. It supports muscle, hormones, enzymes, and healthy aging. But more is not always better, especially if intake is excessive and relentlessly high without variation. Your cells are always reading the nutritional environment around them. And one of the key signals they monitor is amino acid availability. When amino acids remain constantly elevated, mTOR tends to remain more active. That tells cells to keep building, keep growing, keep pushing forward. There is a time and place for that, but there is also a time for cellular maintenance, a time to recycle damaged components rather than constantly focusing on growth. That is why a pattern of protein balance matters. Not chronic deprivation, not fear of protein, balance. Some people benefit from having one lower protein day each week, centered more on vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and fruit, while maintaining adequate protein on the remaining days. That fluctuation may help create a healthier rhythm between growth and repair. Your body does not just need construction signals. It also needs cleanup signals. The third habit is movement. Not just exercise for burning calories, movement as a biological message. When you move your body consistently, especially through brisk walking, resistance training, and short bursts of effort, your cells sense changes in energy demand. Muscles use fuel. ATP is consumed. AMPK activity rises, mitochondria are challenged, and in response the body becomes more efficient at clearing damaged cellular components and improving metabolic function. This is especially important because dysfunctional mitochondria can contribute to oxidative stress and poor energy regulation. And when damaged mitochondria linger, they do not simply make you feel tired. They create an internal environment that can support inflammation and dysfunction. Exercise helps disrupt that pattern. It stimulates renewal. It encourages mitochondrial quality control. It improves insulin sensitivity. And it supports a terrain in which healthier cells thrive more easily than compromised ones. You do not need punishing workouts for this to matter. You need consistency. A daily walk after meals. A few sessions of resistance training each week. A life that includes regular physical effort instead of endless sitting. The body interprets movement as a reason to stay adaptive. The fourth habit is heat exposure. This is one of the least obvious triggers of cellular cleanup, yet one of the most fascinating. When your body is exposed to meaningful heat, such as a sauna, your cells activate what is known as the heat shock response. This response helps protect proteins from damage and supports the repair of stressed cellular structures. But it also appears to interact with autophagy. Heat exposure creates a controlled stress, And when that stress is appropriate, the body responds by becoming more resilient. Damaged proteins are more likely to be identified and removed. Cellular housekeeping increases. And the body receives a signal that it must adapt rather than drift into stagnation. This is one reason sauna use has attracted so much interest in longevity and metabolic health research. It is not magic, it is hormesis, a small, manageable stress that triggers a beneficial response. For many people, that may look like 15 to 20 minutes in a sauna several times per week, assuming they tolerate heat well and their physician has not advised against it. Even here, the lesson is the same. Healthy stress, applied intelligently, teaches the body to become stronger. Before we go further, if this is already changing the way you think about disease prevention, this is exactly why Dr. Marie Clark spends so much time teaching the biology behind simple daily habits. Because once you understand the mechanism, your choices stop feeling random. They start feeling purposeful. The fifth habit is cold exposure. And no, this does not mean you have to jump into freezing water every morning unless you want to. What matters is that cold provides a different kind of signal than heat. It activates the nervous system. It increases norepinephrine. It challenges comfort. And through those pathways, it appears to influence metabolic regulation, inflammation, and cellular stress responses in ways that may support autophagy and immune vigilance. Cold exposure can also help train the body to become more adaptable. A short finish to your shower with cold water may be enough to create that signal. Not because one icy minute changes your life overnight, but because repeated exposure tells your body that it must stay responsive. It must regulate. It must adapt. That is the hidden thread behind so many of these practices. Health is not built by permanent comfort. The body weakens when it receives the same soft input all the time. It strengthens when it encounters manageable challenges and learns to recover from them. The sixth habit is sleep. And this may be the most underestimated one of all. During deep, consistent sleep, the body enters one of its most important repair windows. Hormones shift. Inflammatory signaling changes. The brain clears waste more effectively, and throughout the body, maintenance processes intensify. When sleep is cut short, delayed, fragmented, or irregular, the body loses access to that repair rhythm. The consequences are not just next-day fatigue and irritability. Poor sleep can disturb insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, immune performance, and circadian timing. And when circadian timing is disrupted repeatedly, the body's repair signals become less coordinated. That matters because autophagy is not happening in isolation. It is connected to the body clock, connected to hormones, connected to melatonin, connected to the timing of feeding, fasting, movement, and recovery. This is why improving sleep is not a soft health strategy. It is foundational. A consistent sleep schedule may be one of the most effective ways to support the internal timing that keeps repair systems working properly. If you want a practical target, go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time every day, including weekends. Get light exposure in the morning, reduce bright light late at night, and stop treating sleep like the leftover space after everything else is done. The seventh habit is controlling blood sugar spikes. This is another daily action that quietly shapes the environment inside your body. When blood sugar rises sharply and often, insulin follows. When insulin remains high, the body stays in a more anabolic state, and repair pathways are less likely to dominate. Over time, frequent spikes can contribute to inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic dysfunction. That does not mean you need perfection. It means your meals should make biological sense. Build them around fiber. Include protein in appropriate amounts. Choose minimally processed carbohydrates more often. Walk after eating when you can. And stop normalizing the cycle of sugar high, crash, craving, repeat. Your cells are always listening. Every spike is a message. Every stable meal is also a message. The 8th habit is eating foods that support cellular renewal rather than constantly adding to the damage load. Certain plant compounds appear to support autophagy-related pathways more directly. For example, spermidine, found in foods like mushrooms, legumes, aged cheeses, and wheat germ, has drawn attention for its relationship to cellular renewal. Polyphenol-rich foods such as berries, pomegranate, walnuts, herbs, and deeply colored vegetables also support a lower inflammatory internal environment and may help influence pathways involved in stress resistance and mitochondrial function. The exact effect of any single food is not the point. The pattern is the point. When your diet is centered on ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, damaged fats, and low fiber, your body spends more time managing harm. When your diet is built around whole foods, color, fiber, minerals, and variety, the terrain changes. You reduce the incoming burden. You support the systems that clean up what still gets through. And over time, that changes the direction of your health. The 9th habit is reducing the constant noise of inflammation. This includes the obvious things, like smoking and excessive alcohol, but it also includes more common habits people rarely think about. Chronic stress without recovery, late-night eating, sedentary days, poor oral health, sleep debt, excess body fat, especially around the waist. All of these can increase inflammatory signaling and metabolic chaos. And when the body is overwhelmed by constant low-grade stress, it has a harder time allocating resources toward high-quality repair. This is why disease prevention is rarely about one magic nutrient or one miracle protocol. It is about removing the daily obstacles that suppress the body's built-in intelligence. The 10th habit is consistency itself. This may sound too simple, but it is probably the most important principle in this entire conversation. Most people think in extremes. They want one dramatic cleanse, one long fast, one reset, one powerful intervention. But the body does not care about your intention nearly as much as it cares about your pattern. What did you do today? What did you do yesterday? What will you do tomorrow? Did you sleep on time? Did you move? Did you stop eating early enough for your body to shift into repair mode? Did you overload your system with constant stimulation, or did you create moments of recovery? That is where the real result comes from, not in what you do once, in what you repeat. And this is where the biggest myth needs to be corrected. Prolonged fasting is not the only meaningful trigger for autophagy. Yes, it can be powerful, but everyday baseline autophagy appears to be shaped by multiple overlapping signals: meal timing, exercise, protein rhythm, heat, cold, sleep, metabolic stability, nutrient quality, stress recovery. When these signals align, the body is far more likely to enter a state where repair is supported on a regular basis. That is the insight so many people miss. They are looking for one dramatic switch, while ignoring the 10 small switches they control every day. If your goal is to help your body fight disease naturally, do not think only in terms of treatment after something goes wrong. Think in terms of terrain. What kind of internal environment are you building? One where damaged cells are more likely to accumulate, or one where the body is better equipped to identify problems early, recycle what is broken, and maintain order before dysfunction grows? That is the deeper promise of autophagy. Not invincibility, not a guarantee, but support, biological housekeeping, a more resilient system, a body that is more prepared to protect itself. So if you want the simplest takeaway from everything we covered today, it is this: give your body a daily reason to repair. Create time away from food. Move every day. Avoid constant overeating. Challenge your system with brief, intelligent stress. Sleep deeply. Stabilize your blood sugar. Eat in a way that lowers the burden of damage and supports renewal. Then repeat, because health is not only built in hospitals and laboratories, it is built in kitchens, on walks, in routines, in bedtimes, in habits so ordinary they barely look important, until years pass, and the biology adds up. Dr. Marie Clark often says the body is paying attention even when you are not. Every choice is either feeding disorder or supporting repair, and the encouraging part is that many of the strongest signals are still within reach. Not expensive, not glamorous, not extreme, just daily. If this message landed for you, hold on to the principle behind it. Your body is not passive. It is trying to protect you. The question is whether your daily routine is helping that process or getting in its way. And once you begin to understand that, your habits stop feeling small. They start feeling like instructions. The next time you hear someone say that disease prevention is all genetics or all luck, remember this: your biology is responsive. Your cells are listening. And every day, through the choices you repeat, you are telling your body what kind of environment it should become. That is where the real power is. Not in waiting for health to disappear and then trying to chase it back, but in supporting the invisible protective systems that have been with you all along. If you want to go deeper into the daily habits that shape metabolism, inflammation, and long-term resilience, Dr. Marie Clark has more on that in the next video. Because once you understand what helps the body repair itself, the next question becomes just as important. What are you doing every day that may be quietly interfering with that repair? And that is exactly what we cover next.